Hello, here's the Easter story in the Godly Play way. The story begins with the baby being born. Mary and Joseph name the baby Jesus, and they do everything they can to help the baby grow. When Jesus is about 12, they lose track of Jesus when they're on a trip to Jerusalem. They hurry back through the streets of Jerusalem looking for their lost son, and they find him in the temple, talking with the rabbis, listening to the rabbis. "Why did you do this?" they ask. And he says, "Didn't you know I would be in my Father's house?" They didn't understand that answer, but they remembered it. When Jesus grew to be about 30 years old, he went to the Jordan River. That's where his cousin John was baptizing people. John took Jesus down into the waters of the Jordan River, and when Jesus came up, people nearby thought they heard a voice saying, "This is my beloved son, and my beloved son in whom I am well pleased." And many people saw a dove over Jesus' head. After the baptism, Jesus went across the Jordan River and stayed in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. After 40 days and 40 nights, he was pretty hungry, and a voice came to him. 3 times the voice came and tempted him. The third time, the voice had him as though he was up on top of the temple and looking out upon the kingdoms, saying, "If you follow me, all these kingdoms will be yours." Jesus said, "No, I am supposed to be a king, but not that kind of king." Then Jesus went back across the Jordan River to begin his work. What was Jesus' work? His work was coming close to people. Here he came close to a blind man. He put clay on his fingers and put his fingers on the blind man's eyes. And after Jesus came close to the blind man could see again. Jesus' work of coming close to people also included telling parables. And after 3 years of his work, Jesus turned and went toward Jerusalem for the last time. Now it was Jesus' turn to become a parable. When Jesus entered Jerusalem, he was riding a donkey. People thought he was ready to become a king. They waved branches, palm branches, which was a sign of the king. But did they notice that Jesus was riding a donkey and not a big horse like the Roman rulers? But they waved the branches anyways. The first days after coming into Jerusalem, Jesus went to the temple every day and taught and talked to people there. And at night he went to Bethany to eat with his friends and to be there. One night when he was with his friends, a woman came in. She was carrying an alabaster jar full of expensive ointment. She went to Jesus and she anointed his head first. Then she went to his feet and she took down her hair and washed his feet with the expensive ointment. Jesus' friends began to grumble. "We should have sold this ointment and given the money for the poor." "No," said Jesus, "she is doing what needs to be done this week." On Thursday, the Roman guards thought, "We'll get Jesus today." But no, Jesus was not to be found that day in the temple. He was getting ready with his friends to celebrate the Passover feast in the evening. As they walked up the steps, they went into the upper room There is where the feast was ready for them. And after everyone had eaten what they needed, Jesus took the bread and he broke it and he said, "When you break this bread, you'll remember me." And then he took the cup. "When you take this cup and share it with others, you'll remember me." They didn't know what he meant then, but they remembered later. After he did this, Judas got up and went out into the dark night. The rest of them sang a hymn together. Then they all went out in the dark night. They went to the Garden of Gethsemane. This is where Jesus prayed. He went away from the others for a while to pray. And when he came back, Judas came out of the dark. It was the signal to arrest Jesus. The Roman guards took Jesus away, and all of Jesus' friends disappeared into the night. Friday was a very confusing day. They took Jesus outside the city walls and they put him on a cross, and he died there. The sky grew dark. There was an earthquake. Some of Jesus' friends came and took his body and put it in a tomb, which is like a cave. And they put a stone in front of the tomb. Saturday was so quiet, you could almost hear the earth breathing. On Sunday morning, the women came to remember Jesus. They came to the tomb where Jesus' body had been put. And as they got closer, they saw the stone was rolled away. And when they looked inside the tomb, his body was missing, was gone. They found over time that Jesus was still with them, as he is with us. He is especially with them and with us in the breaking of the bread and the sharing of the cup. And this brings us right to the mystery of Easter. Because when you look at this side, you also know this side is here. And when you look at this side, you know this side is here. And they cannot be taken apart. So the color changes from purple to white, which is the color of celebration. And now I see that the story has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's not quite the way the story goes. So let's see what we can do to show the way the story goes. When the story is in a circle like this, we can see that it's a story that goes on and on and on. So I wonder what you like best about this story. And I wonder, what's the most important part of this story? And I wonder, what part of the story is about you? Who are you in this story? And I wonder, is there any part of the story we can leave out and still have all the story that we need? Christ is risen. He is risen indeed.